tax exemption in the Church of Scientology?
Tax exemption in the Church of Scientology. A couple of things to know about tax exemption. Scientology is recognized as a 501c3 by the IRS. It's a church. Now, religious tax exemption in America is not a seal of approval that you're a legitimate religion. It's not at all. Nor is it the equivalent of the Apollo 11 moon landing that David Miscavige made it out to be.
There will be no billion-dollar tax bill which we can't pay. There will be no more discrimination. There will be no more 2,500 cases against parishioners across the U.S. The pipeline of IRS false reports won't keep flowing across the planet. There will be no more nothing, because on October the 1st, 1993, at 8:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the IRS issued letters recognizing Scientology, and every one of its organizations as fully tax-exempt. The war is over!
At the famous "The War is Over" event, David Miscavige made it sound like gaining tax exemption was an astonishing accomplishment. It is not. Groups like Westboro Baptist, the God Hates Fags people, they have tax exemption.
Westboro Baptist.
Yeah, Westboro Baptist has tax exemption. Jonestown People's Temple, they had tax exemption. So tax exemption is not a seal of approval by the government. I'll tell you why. The government in America is not allowed to make laws respecting the establishment of a religion. That is, the government can't make a law to say what a religion is or isn't. They're not allowed to by law. That's the Constitution. However, the IRS does set criteria that characterize a religion. And these are sort of guidelines that a group has to meet to get tax exemption. I'll give you an example of where the Church of Scientology lies, and it doesn't have to lie, but it does lie. The Church of Scientology likes to say that you can be a Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist, a Muslim, and still be a Scientologist. That's not true at all. Because the IRS says in order to be a religion, you have to be distinct, and you can't be associated with other churches, religions, or groups. The Church of Scientology told the IRS in its 1993 filings, in that period, that as a practical matter, people who become Scientologists are expected to drop or stop being whatever they're being. A Jew, they cited a case. You could culturally be a Jew, culturally observe it, but you can't be a Jew anymore and be a Scientologist. So this is where Sylvia Stenard going to Chautauqua, talking interfaith. What she really needs to say is no. If you're a Scientologist, you cannot be a member of another religion.
Instead of her lies.
Yes, instead of her lying. And she doesn't need to lie. Christians are very unapologetic that if you're a Christian and you're saved by Jesus Christ, you cannot be anything else, period. So when you hear Reverend Alfredi Johnson, a Scientologist, and he makes money off it, no one should be fooled about that. He makes money off Scientology as an FSM, and he engages in fundraising activities. He even engages in fundraising activities in some of the secular groups of Scientology, some of the business consulting groups. Now, he's a Christian. That's how he represents himself to the world. But even Reverend Johnson knows he can read the Bible. Light cannot be with darkness. No man can serve two masters, is what Jesus said, because you will love one and hate the other. So for him to say that he's a Christian and a Scientologist, that's his problem. He can't theologically reconcile it with the Bible, and it doesn't reconcile with what his own Church of Scientology told the IRS. We can only conclude that he's being dishonest.
It seems like the protections of calling yourself a church or religion, it seems like there are vast protections under the First Amendment. Would you agree that Scientology gets away with its most draconian abuse because of the First Amendment?
That's a great question. The Church of Scientology gets away with murder because of the First Amendment, because it has religious protection. It can get away with not paying minimum wage, not paying overtime, locking people up, imprisoning them, beating them. It can get away with virtually anything it wants to get away with because it has first protection. As we're seeing now in the Garcia case, it's arguing First Amendment rights. And it may be that it argues that a religion doesn't have to give refunds. It may argue in the Rathbun case that a religion can engage in stalking and harassment for years, and it's ecclesiastical. But the problem for David Miscavige and the Church of Scientology is this: religious protection only goes so far. When it crosses a certain line into criminality, then it gets very serious. Religion will not make you immune to the law.
This group of clowns showed up to my house with the uniforms on and the shirts with my face emblazoned on them with the strikeout symbol on it, these squirrel busters.
He says they wouldn't leave him alone no matter what he did.
What's your name?
I don't have any.
The Church of Scientology denies organizing the harassment, but we spoke with one of the photographers hired to film Rathbun. Bert Leahy says he was hired by a man linked to the church.
He said that he was not a Scientologist, but he was hired by the Church of Scientology to do a documentary of a ex-member named Marty Rathbun.
This doesn't resemble a documentary in any way, shape, or form. They're just 24/7, Marty, 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 just let's make his life miserable hell, kind of like what the article covered, and it was just to the point where it was just too intrusive for me to continue to stalk someone like that.